And so a lot of times I'll get these questions, what are the top things people have hard time with their horses? They can't catch their horse, they can't lead their horse, they can't load their horse won't stand tied, their horse won't stand for the farrier, they go to mount, the horse moves off, they are riding their horse in a group, they go to leave the group, the horse melts down, the horse is buddy sour, so you try and ride away from a certain area, they're screaming back to the other horses. What other things are there? The horse, once you start increasing the energy levels in the ride, he gets all amped up and it doesn't feel like you have any options. The horse keeps spooking or resisting moving to a certain place or location in the arena on the property. The horse anticipates at feed time, gets aggressive. These are kind of like the normal things that I hear all the time. And again, when you're the individual person, you may think, well, this is just, my issue or my problem with my horse, not realizing how many other people in the world are going through all of these sort of things. And when people have those sort of issues as their starting place, but their focus, their goal is to work towards something, we'll say, more advanced. And so, everything is tied in where we can either choose to sort of ignore things and be hopeful because they're not that bad yet, they're not scaring us enough yet, and get to these places where we go, all of a sudden my horse started spooking, all of a sudden my horse is great on the trail ride, but when I turn around to go home, he's now bolting home and I have an issue. All of a sudden my horse, won't stand tied quietly. He's bouncing on the cross ties and he's chomping on the cross ties and he's pawing, or every time I go to put the saddle on, he's stepping away or trying to bite me when I'm cinching up or tightening the girth, or every time I go to let my horse loose, he kicks his feet out at me as he runs off. He's just having fun. Or what happens is when we're thinking we're going for horse instruction, there's a certain degree where horse, teachers at whatever it is they're doing, whether you're on the ground or in the saddle, are feeling like they have to produce a final result at the end of the lesson, rather than going, if I need to address where this human student and horse is in the moment to give them the tools in order to have this outcome, we may not get it all done in this lesson. That this is not that just because, someone paid for a service that they are guaranteed an outcome when we are working with a sentient being. And I think this is something that needs to be shouted from the rooftops, because so much of what many people now are acknowledging are what we might call injustices, severe trauma induced or put upon, created in horses because of severe training practices. It comes down to we have to get it done now. And are there occupations where we're working with livestock and you have to get things done? Absolutely. But the people who are employed in those positions should not be the people who still are missing the fundamental basic. But they should be at a place where their riding, their abilities, their awareness, their timing sets them up to be successful in their job, to where when we do have to get something done, it is not traumatizing to the horse. The problem is 99% of the people who are riding nowadays, their life does not depend on it. They are pleasure riders. Even if they are competing, they are still riding for fun. It is not their livelihood. And so this idea of being sold or being marketed or being told, this is what something has to look like, fixate on the outcome. It can only look like X, Y, and Z version, and there's not any emphasis on the learning process in the human or in the horse. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter the discipline, it doesn't matter the type of riding. If you are missing the fundamental basics, there are holes in your and the horse's education. And so it's not a matter of if those holes are going to show up and make the horses resistant to unwanted, defensive, dramatic, and potentially dangerous behavior worse. It's just a matter of when, meaning how many things are you asking of the horse before he reaches a point where he's overwhelmed. Too many things have been asked of him. There's not clear quality in the communication, so the horse isn't being supported in what he's being asked to do. And eventually the horse has to protect himself, and so he learns to do so in that anticipative, high-tension, defensive sort of behaviors. None of this chaos should be normalized, and this was something I was talking about in one of my coaching groups, is how, unfortunately, if you are constantly surrounded by horses whose behaviors are being ignored or justified, as horses just do that because you have a barn full of chaotic, anticipative, tension-filled horses, you're not really going to think your horse looks any different. You're not really going to notice that there's any problems because your horse is going to look like everybody else's chaotic horse. It's only until you meet a horse that is confident, that is mentally present, that is adaptable, that you start to go, whoa, that looks really, really different than all of the chaos that I've sort of gotten, in the human terms, desensitized to, that we have desensitized ourselves to the horse's chaos.